Hello and welcome everybody to Feature Friday. Good afternoon today. I am Jackie Kwan, co-founder of Uplifter, not just today, but every day. And today, our product expert with us today is Garrett Trudd. Garrett, are you Garrett today?
Just today.
Just
Every other
today.
day I'm not.
So as you can see, isolation has made us both a little bit loopy, but we're very excited to get started again. I know that various sectors are reopening, various jurisdictions, and everybody's sort of reopening at a different phase or a different plan. Because of that, we have noticed that there have been an increasing number of clubs that have contacted us, and we're seeing different patterns in terms of how people are setting up their registrations. And we know that sometimes it's complicated. You might not know from week to week where you're at. There might be an issue where things are going to be slowed down or shut down, or perhaps an increase in your ability to extend the number of people in your gatherings might occur in the next week or two. And because of that, we know that clubs are organizing and getting set up to sort of set up their registrations in sort of a trepidatious manner, as it were. And so what we've done is Garrett's put together a couple of different scenarios that allows you to, maybe it's because your ice isn't secure for every week, or it's changing every week, or for what reason your situation might change. Garrett's put together a few scenarios of what we call progressive registrations, where you can set things up in a particular way, and as your situation changes, you can make a few changes very easily, and have Uplifter work with how it is that your club is going to adapt with the differing changes of COVID and the restrictions. So, given that long preamble,
I can't help but feel like you're excusing yourself from what I'm about to present. You're like, Garrett's done it. Garrett set this up. And this is like, trust me, I had nothing to do with this.
oh no, I had everything to do with it because
Oh,
I
okay.
told you this is what I wanted you to do.
Excellent. Well, yes, thank you so much, Jackie. We are going to be taking a look at progressive seasons today. So a tentative reopening of your programs and your organization in general. So we are going to kick things off by popping over to the administrative side. Actually, my apologies. We're going to start things by popping over to the progressive season menu option here. And this is going to give us a list of all of our progressive options as an end user would see them. As you can see, there's the manual placement program, there is the drop-in option, and then there's the week at a time program. Now I can actually see my manual placement program because it's in beta and I'm a site administrator, but your regular users wouldn't see this listing. They would just see this one up here. So let's talk a little bit about how to build these and the outcomes of these different variations. Now, not all of these variations will suit your particular organization's needs. So definitely keep in mind that you have these different options. And of course, if you need to mix and match or things like that, or you're not quite sure how to do things, you can always give us a shout and we can definitely help you out to find out the best method for you. So to kick things off, or let's pop over to products and programs. And on this page here, I've filtered just by progressive season. You can see my 3 programs that are available. We're going to be taking a look at the drop-in program first. So I'm going to select to edit this program. So on this page here, we are going to see that in the program information section, there's not a huge amount that's different or unique. This is under the golf category, but it can be under whatever category that you want, especially if you don't have golf, you can put it under skating, or I can't skate, or kinder gym, whatever you need. What is important, however, is in the program event time, we have just our first week set up. So it extends from the 13th to the 17th. And I've noted that this takes place on Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. I've also enabled drop-in and specified the per event cost. Now, when I added my events, I added an event listing for Mondays and I added an event listing for Wednesdays. So we can see I have 2 events now in my week from 13th to the 17th. So that's important element number 1. Important element number 2 is down at the bottom here in the registration details section, where we see that max registration spots is set to 8, but this is split up by drop-ins being 8 and full programs being 0. This is the same thing for the waitlists, where it's 8 and 8 and 0 for the full program. By setting it up this way, we're ensuring that there are 8 positions available on any given event, And we're only allowing drop-in registrations. We are not allowing users to register for the full program. So after I come down here and I click Update, what users will see on the dashboard is that the drop-in program is available on the Monday and the Wednesday that I specified, but it's not available on these other options throughout the calendar. Similarly, if I attempted to register for this program, I would be able to register just for the drop-in options. Now, when it comes to extending this, so as your season expands and as your program becomes more available, you can then just come to the edit screen here and you can extend your season or extend your last event date. So here, let's say I know that my next week is okay. I'm going to set it to the 24th now. And by doing that, the system's going to take the recurrences that I already created previously and duplicate them for the next week. So this is a perfect option for users or clubs or organizations that know that they're going to have a recurring schedule or consistently recurring schedule. And that's hard to say when you know you have to sort of opt in for ice and things like that. But when you have your own space or you know you're going to get a consistent allotment of ice or space use, you can then of course schedule it this way. Now, if you need to, you are more than aware likely that you can edit each individual option here, so that's not a problem. When these events actually get generated, you can then change, the times if you need to, or you can also select this blue option here. When you hover over it, turns blue, and you can actually fiddle with the recurrences as well if you'd like to. And in this way, you can actually introduce additional events, or you can, of course, delete these events and add new events from the toolbar as well. So if you aren't seeing consistent weeks, there's a little bit more work to do in terms of making sure that your calendar and your events are properly represented. But if you are seeing consistent weeks, this is a very fast and efficient method to introduce a progressive introduction of your programs. So now if I go down and I click Update, and we go back to our calendar here, the drop-in option will now populate on my 20th and 22nd date, and I can now drop in as an end user. The reason that's full is because obviously we passed the first two events, so they weren't available, and now they are. So I can then select these options. I can opt in for one day, both days, what have you, and this capacity will be controlled on a per event basis, which is perfect. That's exactly what you need. So
I'm going
that,
to put you on the spot, Garrett.
oh, what's that?
Clubs can update that using the batch update program batch update as well, can't they? The last event date, I believe.
Yes, so if you want to go about the batch update option, so if you have a bunch of these drop-in type programs and you come to your seasons page and click batch update, you can in fact update the last event date, but that will do the same thing as coming into each one and editing this date, but not adjusting the events.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Populate these events as though your schedule's already been constructed.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Excellent. So that is option number one. That's drop-in. That is a very fast and efficient way to introduce that progressive type of season creation. So if that suits your needs, absolutely, that's probably one of the better ways to do it. The only downfall to this option, as previously noted, is if your schedule does change from week to week, it adds a little bit more to your plate in terms of extending that option. The next, we are going to look at week at a time program. The Week at a Time program is is, as the name would suggest, a program that functions a week at a time. This is, as you can see, week number one. So I have generated this program at a full week's cost, and I've noted when it's occurring. And this is sort of assimilating the same example here. We've got the Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. This does not have any drop-ins. Instead, it is set to have the 8 positions and 8 wait lists, but there's no drop-in positions, so these are all for full program registrations. But full program for this program would be just the week, so just the 13th to the 17th as I've specified here. When my schedule is confirmed the next week, I can then come to this page and I can choose to copy. And once I choose to copy, I can then say, okay, this is going to be week number two, and number two. And then I can extend this to my proper week, so the 20th to the 24th. My system will automatically generate based off of the occurrences I have, or I can delete these recurrences and I can add entirely new events to this schedule as well, which gives me full flexibility to compensate for any schedule changes I might have in week number 2 compared to week number 1. And from there, I can scroll down and I can create. So in this way, you can introduce a very flexible week by week schedule, which allows you to control those class capacities week by week, which is nice. This option, however, doesn't give your end users much flexibility, as at least in compared to drop-ins, which they can of course opt in for 1, 2, 3 days, what have you, whatever you're offering. But this is more aligned with a standardized program, which is nice. Jackie, I heard you.
You can you hear me.
Yeah.
um,
Sorry.
one one way that you can actually do this very quickly as well is if you actually have, let's say, several different programs that you've set up in this manner, and instead of copying them one by one, you can actually use our season copy feature to actually copy those programs into the same season itself. It's a little bit more of an advanced feature. I think we've got another video somewhere along the line that shows you how to copy your seasons, but there's nothing saying that you can't copy a number of programs from one season into its own season that allows you to basically, batch copy about, several different programs all at once to make this process just a little bit easier for you as well. So,
Why are you giving away all my secrets?
ah,
No. Yes, you are
they're not
exactly
your
right. Well, they're
secrets.
kind of my secrets. So yes, if you had the week at a time week 1 option here all set up, you have various programs that are representing the first week of their programs. You could in fact come to the seasons page, product programs and seasons, select your progressive season, which of course you don't need to name progressive season, and then select this option here, copy. In this instance, you can copy into an existing season and select the same season that you've chosen to copy, which allows you to duplicate all of the programs within your season. So having all of your programs for the first week, you copy it in that fashion, and now you've got your first week and your second week. Now, it is important to note that you can select during this process which programs you want to copy. So if some drop off, what have you, you can choose not to copy those. Additionally, when you get to week number 3 or really any other odd week, you will find that selecting to copy will duplicate probably more programs than you need. So you'll probably want to opt to not copy certain ones.
That's why you didn't want to suggest in the first place, wasn't it?
No, not at all.
No?
No, I
Okay.
just didn't even think about it. That's perfect. Excellent. So that is the second option, the week at a time. Now, the final option is the manual placement program. Now, in terms of workload for the administrative team, this is probably the most work that you'd have to put into it in terms of creating a progressive season, but it also gives you the absolute most control over your schedule, but also who's showing up and when. So if you are concerned about the number of people who are showing up, who they're sort of interchanging with on day-to-day basis, then this actually might be one of the best options for you. And I'm sure Jackie will have some further insights into that after review, or maybe you can do that now if you want. I don't care.
I'll wait.
Okay. So the manual placement program, as you can see, is actually in beta status. So this means that your regular users aren't going to be able to view or access the program. Instead, so yeah, let's take a peek at what's going on here. So it is a beta program, and in this beta program, I've created the entirety of my schedule, at least insofar as I know that, I've got some confirmation for the next couple of weeks or so. And of course, I can add to this schedule as time goes on. What's going to happen here is, as you can see, there's no drop-in registration spots. It's just regular registration spots, etc. So what will happen here is when users want to register, they're not going to register for this program. Instead, they're going to register for a subscription. Now, as we saw on the registration page, that's up here, manual placement program. So they can add that subscription to cart, 1 per participant. And what this will do is actually create a recurring fee for these users. Now, this recurring fee is the per week fee. And if we go into this, what we'll see is just a standard product information here. It does apply to participant. In the subscription section, I have it set to effective duration, and it lasts for 7 days. So what's going to happen here is when a user purchases this, they're going to pay $150 and it expires in 7 days. But because I used this effective duration, I have also enabled in the payments section here the recurring subscription feature, which allows me to tell the system to reapply a new subscription when this one expires. So what this will do is say after those 7 days, create a brand new invoice for $150 as I've specified here in the recurring amount. And I can also specify that it uses the previous installment payment details. So if they've used credit card, that transitions and they can use the same payment token. Use available credit is also checked. So if they do have credit, we can use that first. But essentially what this does is it generates that new invoice for the user and processes payments if it can, but it'll create that invoice so that this user can pay another $150 for the second week. Now, why set up all this stuff? Well, what'll happen is you can pull a report on everyone who is buying this fee, and you know that it's for this one program that you've created that's in beta. So because you know that and because you know who has purchased it, you can now go into this program and you can add your guest attendance on the days that you want them to show up on. So we can pop over to the seasons option here and we can go into, let's say, the 20th, and I can go into attendance and I can say first last. Good old first last.
You don't know who your participants
I
are.
don't know my participant. Good old first last year. You know what? You are going to be joining on the 20th. Congratulations. And so they are now in on the 20th. And I can, of course, do that for each of my participants and control the exact event that they're going to be showing up on. I can also control the number of events that they get to show up on. And of course, they'll see this within their calendars as well. You can also send out an email if you want, just a quick email blast that says, hey, just double check your calendars to see what dates you guys are going to be showing up on, as it's now ready to go and everyone should be able to see that. So this is a great way to have full control over who shows up and when. Jackie, why do you like to talk about this?
I was just going to describe some of the situations that you might run into that you might want to use this scenario. It does seem like a lot of work from an administrator standpoint, but at the same time, we do know that there may be particular reasons why you're doing this. Let's say you're trying to maintain social bubbles. Or let's say because of how the restrictions are being set, you know that you want a particular number of students to come at various times. You want to control that as a private coach. Maybe you want to know very specifically who is coming on which session, but you know that everybody is going to show up once a week, and they're going to come every week to participate, but you want to control at what times they come. Using the recurring subscriptions just ensures that you get paid on a week-by-week basis as you navigate through these new scheduling changes that might come up. But as things happen, let's say things get shut down, or let's say there are restrictions that are happening, and you need to stop the recurring subscriptions, you can certainly stop the recurring subscriptions so the payments don't continue to come out. Or maybe somebody has decided, you know what, I'm not ready to come back to train yet, or I need to take a break. You can actually remove just subscriptions just for individual participants that had originally opted in. So lots of different ways to handle these scenarios, and lots of different ways to manage the differing scheduling challenges that I'm sure all of you as clubs are facing during the differing changes with the restrictions of COVID and all the rest. So Garrett, was there anything else that you wanted to add in terms of progressive registrations?
Nope. No, no, I'm all set. That's everything that I had. So those are the three examples that we have. But again, like I noted, you can very likely mix and match, or if one of those scenarios is very close to what you guys would need, but not quite captures what you need, then please let us know. We can definitely help you out and find a better workflow that actually suits you and your team. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
One last thing that I was just going to mention for any of those clubs that are already using Uplifter, if you know of another club that could use Uplifter, I highly recommend if you go into your administrative site, there is a link for refer and save. If you know somebody who could use Uplifter and could take advantage of some of these great new features that we've been deploying just over the last couple of months, use the refer and save. You'll save a little bit of money each month, and so will the people that you or the club that you have actually referred. So it's a great way for everybody to save, which is really important during these crazy times of COVID. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week, won't we, Garrett? Won't we?
Maybe.
Won't
I
we?
don't know.
Maybe.
Who can say? Yes, I think we will be, although I don't know if we have a topic selected just yet, so it's a mystery.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say. Oh, we'll decide later.
Okay. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We appreciate you taking the time, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.